This week, I'm going to bike the history of San Francisco's adult entertainment industry, from the early days of the Barbary Coast to today's post-pandemic world. San Francisco has always pushed the boundaries of what is acceptable to mainstream America. When I first came here in the mid-90s, the city was much grittier. Both the Tenderloin and North Beach still had many peep shows and strip clubs. Even then, however, it was obvious that many of these establishments were well past their prime. The pandemic has accelerated this decline, and what's left is just barely hanging on at the edge of society. What is particularly interesting to me is that you can draw a direct line from the early days of San Francisco to what remains today of the adult entertainment industry. The gold rush meant that just in over a decade, San Francisco went from a sleepy village to a bustling city of 100,000 people. As an isolated port town with a transient population, San Francisco has always had a seedy underbelly. The Barbary Coast, the original red light district, was completely lawless with saloons, dance halls, brothels, and opium dens. Murder, vigilantism, and kidnapping, also known as Shanghaiing, were all part of daily life in this notorious place. As with many things, the 1906 earthquake changed everything. City officials saw the devastation as an opportunity to control the Barbary Coast. Many of the bawdier venues never returned, and a new, more gentrified entertainment hub called Terrific Street emerged. This one-block street of Pacific had a golden age in the 1910s, hosting and producing many of the jazz greats of that era. Interestingly, many of the venues were known as black and tan clubs, meaning that black and white people were free to mingle. Unfortunately, Terrific Street was not to last. Prostitution and other vice grew to a point that in 1917 officials banned all dancing establishments. The final nail was the introduction of prohibition. In the 1930s, there was an attempt to reboot Terrific Street for the post-Prohibition era. It was rebranded as International Settlement and was designed to be a more sanitized, tourist-friendly destination. Pal Joey, a movie starring Frank Sinatra, Kim Novak and Rita Hayworth, was shot on location here. With time, however, the area reverted to its former red light district days, and international settlement was ultimately dismantled. Pretty much all that's left are the posts that used to support the famous international settlement sign. The 50s gave rise to a new adult entertainment hub on Broadway. The most famous club, the Condor Club, opened here in 1958 and still survives to this day. It is particularly significant because in 1964, one of its performers, Carol Doda, went fully topless. It was the first club to do so in America, and almost overnight she became an international star and cultural icon. Doda was famous for her tongue-in-cheek showmanship and began each show on top of a white piano that was lowered from the ceiling. She continued to perform and be a fixture of North Beach up until her death in 2015. A large mural of Doda was recently unveiled on the side of Bodega Bar on Columbus Avenue. Two additional facts of interest about the Condor. In the 80s, Doda's white piano was responsible for the death of Condor manager Jimmy the Beard. Apparently he was having some after-hours quality time with his dancer girlfriend when the piano unexpectedly ascended to the ceiling and crushed him to death. More recently, in fact just last month, another manager of the Condor was murdered, allegedly by one of the club's former dancers. Another San Francisco first for the adult entertainment industry occurred in 1970 when the screening room in the Tenderloin became the first movie house to feature full-length pornographic movies. Alex DeRenzi, the owner, successfully challenged the obscenity laws of the time by framing his movies as educational documentaries. In 1969, just a few blocks away from the screening room, Jim and Artie Mitchell opened their infamous Mitchel Brothers O'Farrell Theatre. Their 1972 adult movie, Behind the Green Door, starring Mary Lee Chambers, is credited by many with starting the porno chic era of the 1970s and 80s. At that time, it was the most successful adult movie ever, grossing an unheard of $50 million. The brothers attracted an entourage of famous fringe characters of that era, including Hunter S. Thompson, who called the O'Farrell Theatre the Carnegie Hall of public sex in America. The brothers had numerous run-ins with local officials, including with then-Mayor Dianne Feinstein. Famously, the Mitchell brothers posted her telephone number on their theatre's marquee, preceded by the words, "For a good time, call." In 1991, Jim fatally shot his brother. After serving 3 years in San Quentin, he returned to manage the O'Farrell. Jim died in 2007. His daughter continued the business until it closed permanently during the pandemic. Aunt Charlie's Lounge is an example of one of the few adult entertainment venues that has managed to survive against all odds. Once part of a strip with a dozen gay bars, known as Queer Corridor, Aunt Charlie's is now the last standing gay bar in the entire Tenderloin. Opened in 1987, it's known for its cheap drinks and the longest running drag show in San Francisco. Sadly, the well-known owner was killed in a boating accident last year. His wife, who is 76 years old, hopes to keep this institution open until at least her 80th birthday. Finally, we're going to end it here back in North Beach. Right beside Larry Flint's home of the Hustler Honeys is the now boarded up Lusty Lady Theatre. Opened in the 70s, it was known for its adult movies and live nude dancers. It's particularly significant because of its role in sex worker rights. In 1997, it became the first successfully unionized adult entertainment club in the US. It followed that up in 2003 when the dancers bought the business themselves and managed it as a workers' cooperative. The Lusty Lady closed its doors for the last time in 2013. Thanks for watching along. Please subscribe to see next week's video when I follow in the footsteps of San Francisco's most famous movie, Hitchcock's Vertigo.